Breaking news first at noon. The Maui Police Commission just voted unanimously to not take any action on Mayor Bissen's recommendation to put Police Chief John Pelletier on leave after Pelletier was named as a defendant in a lawsuit accusing rapper Sean Diddy Combs of sex assault. Now, some commissioners called the mayor's request a, quote, miscalculation, and many community members also testified in support of the chief.
There's absolutely no precedent for placing the chief of police on any type of leave pending this lawsuit. Not one of the chiefs I have worked with was ever placed on leave. Why? Because civil complaints require very little. There's no investigation typically done or anything like that. They're just allegations and really not much more.
The first time I had an interaction with Chief Pelletier, it started out in a very adversarial posture, right? I sent him a very tough letter advocating for my community, and ever since then we have developed a very collaborative relationship. I was really struck by how willing he was to sit down with us and communicate and chart a path forward, and that has really caused me to develop a deep respect and trust of the chief.
Mayor Bissen asked the Police Commission to put Chief Pelletier on leave last week and backed that up with a statement yesterday saying the widespread media attention underscores the urgent need for action. Now, the state's police union also sent testimony encouraging the commission to conduct an independent investigation into the allegations. We're going to have much more on this story online and on later editions of HNN. Meanwhile, here on Oahu, Honolulu fire investigators are looking into what caused a massive blaze at a Manoa home that killed one of the residents who lived there. Casey Lund shows us it was a busy morning for firefighters.
Yeah, we're here in the 3500 block of Manoa Road, pretty far into the valley. I want to step out of the way here and show you that home that essentially a large portion of was destroyed early this morning. The fire broke out around 4:25, that's when that first 911 call came into the newsroom anyway. I had heard from neighbors that there were loud popping sounds here at this home before the fire completely took over this sort of Makai side of the structure. I want to show you viewer that we have from, or viewer video I should say, from Kyle Nakamura sent us this dramatic video of the home catching flames, and really you tell how hot things burned here and what a serious fire. That's when they made the second alarm call that brought more resources, triggered extra units to come here to try and get this under control. They were able to get things under control relatively quickly. They were able to find two people inside the home while this broke out. A woman in her 70s, she was taken to the hospital, last check in critical condition, and then the information that we have, a man that was inside the home, we're waiting to get more details, but we know that that person was found dead here by first responders. EMS was not in charge of administering any care to him, but they did report to us that that woman in her 70s was taken to the hospital, again in critical condition. We also know that another female, a woman in her 90s, was looked at by EMS for minor issues, possibly smoke inhalation. There was a lot of smoke in this neighborhood. She was checked out and was refusing transport to the hospital. So we also know that as we come back out here, as fire investigators begin their work, they are being assisted by the crime scene unit for the Honolulu Police Department, as well as ATF. We saw an ATF representative here as well. I want to point your direction to the left side of this home. That sedan, the Buick sedan you see there, completely charred on one side, and it's a good 10 feet away from the home. About 15 feet away from the home is this vinyl looking plastic type of fencing on the neighboring property, and you can see everything there wilted, how much that melted, and that goes to show you just how hot this fire burned and how powerful those flames were. So back out here, again, investigation is going to continue. No damage estimate on that home just yet. We are waiting to get that information from Honolulu fire investigators as well as police as they continue to look into how this all started, and we'll get that information to you as quickly as we can on air and online at hawaiinewsnow.com. We also want to show you video from another fire incident. This is one just before 6 a.m. Around 5:55 is when we learned that a fire was burning on Banyan Drive. That heavy smoke that you see there triggered a second alarm fire call there. Again, more resources going to that fire on Banyan. They were able to get that under control relatively quickly, and as far as we know, no one hurt or injured in that fire. We will have continuing coverage throughout the day, a busy morning here for the Honolulu Fire Department and other first responders in town. We'll send things back into the studio for now.
Thank you, Case. Big plans and promises from Honolulu's Mayor Rick Blangiardi. In his 5th State of the City address last night, he revealed major decisions on housing, public safety, and skyline. Eddie Dowd has the highlights.
There you are, right here.
A standing ovation on Tuesday for Nolan Keulana and Kahiau Kawai, 5 months after the lifeguard rescued the Kamehameha school student who spent 12 hours adrift off Waikiki. Mayor Blangiardi highlighted the pair as he announced the building of new ocean safety facilities, including a long-awaited first responder complex at Sharks Cove in Pupukea.
The ocean activities that are going on with some of the biggest surf in the world, the potential for injury, is not just a benefit to the community, but the entire island.
So the response time now is they're doing absolutely the best that they can. It can sometimes be 40 minutes or an hour, particularly if an ambulance is called away to another location.
The mayor also applauded the rail CEO, announcing an opening date for the second leg.
Way to go, Lori! Way to go, baby! Way to go!
It will now go from East Kapolei to Middle Street, with stops at Pearl Harbor and the Daniel K. Inouye International Airport.
So we're announcing tonight that the second segment of rail operations from Aloha Stadium to Middle Street will open on October 1st.
I think that we're going to have a significant increase because of all the reasons I just said, that we're finally getting Skyline to places where people want to go. They have to work at the airport. They got to work at Pearl Harbor.
The mayor also said his team has identified at least 10 underutilized city-owned properties that will be transformed into affordable housing.
Cost of living in Hawaii for both goods and housing are the primary catalyst for anyone considering leaving.
The mayor is also starting new initiatives on homelessness with a continued focus on physical and mental health.
Kumu Oloho is the first of 4 separate homeless shelters that will open inside Iwilei Center this year, adding a total of 100 more treatment beds to the city's inventory.
As Blangiardi starts his second term with a budget of just over $5 billion, he aims to do all this without increasing property taxes. Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
Hawaii's Department of Health is urging residents to get vaccinated against the measles. Health experts are concerned because the state is 5% short of the 95% vaccination rate needed for herd immunity. Right now, there are more than 300 cases across 15 states on the mainland, and that's increasing the risk of the infection, making it to Hawaii.
Measles is so contagious that if you had 10 unimmunized people exposed to somebody with measles, 9 out of those 10 would actually develop disease. The fortunate thing is that the measles vaccine is incredibly effective.
Although there are currently no local cases, DOH warns to be on the lookout for symptoms, which include high fever, red watery eyes, and a red rash. To national news, President Trump spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the phone today, later saying that everything is on track. Now, this comes after a limited ceasefire deal was reached yesterday during a phone call between Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Erica Brown has more from the White House.
Sirens wailed over the skyline in Kyiv as Russian strikes on the Ukrainian capital continued. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asked President Trump for help stopping the attacks during a 1-hour phone call Wednesday morning.
President Zelensky asked for additional air defense systems to protect his civilians, particularly Patriot missile systems, and President Trump agreed to work with him to find what was available, particularly in Europe.
Trump and Zelensky discussed the possibility of a full ceasefire, and they agreed to send technical teams to Saudi Arabia next week to work on the details of a potential truce.
That full-on ceasefire has a lot to do with this 2,000-kilometer line that where the Ukrainians are lined up against the Russians. It's complicated. There are different battlefield conditions in various spots. That's for the technical teams to figure it out.
Russia and Ukraine accused each other of breaking the terms of the partial ceasefire, but they both followed through with a prisoner exchange involving 175 soldiers from each side. A federal judge has now given the Trump administration until Thursday to explain why they allegedly ignored a judge's ruling to turn around flights deporting Venezuelan migrants to a prison in El Salvador.
The judge in this case is essentially trying to say that the president doesn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists from our American soil.
Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act, a wartime law allowing the deportations of people from an enemy nation without due process protections. The administration claims without offering evidence that the migrants on the flight were gang members and terrorists. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
Aloha on this Wednesday. It's going to be a cloudy day today, and the winds will step up to breezy levels at 15 to 20 miles an hour. If anything, rain-wise, we'll see a few windward and Melka showers this morning. It's not going to be a very wet day, and we'll see those showers kind of reignite in the overnight hours. Rainfall totals will be light to moderate. Surf's rising today. Watch out. 8 to 12 feet near advisory levels for North Shores. It's a very northerly swell, so west sides will only be running 3 to 5 feet.
After more than 60 years, we're finally getting access to some government files related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. There are 80,000 of them. A CBS News team is working through those documents, including Caitlin Huey-Burns, who tells us what she's found so far.
More than 60 years after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the Trump administration released 80,000 pages of records to the public Tuesday night relating to his murder. Culling through the files is a tedious task. The scanned documents, many handwritten and going back over 60 years, can be at times difficult to read and decipher. Lee Harvey Oswald, the man who shot Kennedy in November of 1963, is mentioned 55 times in the documents, including in this 79-page summary of CIA surveillance operations that monitored Oswald's movements in Mexico City, where he visited the Russian and Cuban embassies ahead of the assassination. And in this letter, written in 1978, from a man to the British ambassador in Washington. In it, he says he told immigration officials in London that in July of 1963, just 4 months before the assassination, of a plan by Oswald to kill Kennedy. But so far, the trove of mostly unredacted files show there is nothing that changes he was the sole assassin.
The documents, they don't show conspiracy.
David Barrett, a professor of political science at Villanova University who studies the Kennedy presidency, says that while these files are not a smoking gun, they provide government transparency.
Maybe it will lessen the suspicion that the FBI or the CIA or some other government leader or agency were involved in a plot to kill Kennedy.
The Trump administration says the release represents a campaign promise kept, a promise he made the day Robert F. Kennedy Jr. endorsed him.
I have never had more people ask me, please, sir, release the documents on the Kennedy assassination, and we're going to do that.
And during a visit to the Kennedy Center on Monday, he announced they were ready to go.
So people have been waiting for decades for this. I don't believe we're going to redact anything.
Caitlin Huey-Burns, CBS News, Washington.
Ahead on This Is Now, the federal government is taking action after a new investigation found potentially harmful levels of heavy metals in some baby formulas. Plus this.
The long journey home is finally complete. I'm Karen Hua here at the Johnson Space Center after Crew 9 has landed back in Houston. I'll explain what's next for them as they readjust to life on Earth.
Welcome back. The two astronauts who ended up spending 9 months aboard the International Space Station are back on Earth. Astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams were part of a crew of 4 that splashed down off the coast of Florida last night. Karen Hua has the latest.
Splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
Astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams may be back on Earth, but their mission to regain normalcy has just begun. This video shows the pair landing at Ellington Field in Houston just before midnight aboard NASA 5.
We'll celebrate for a while how really resilient Butch and Sunny were the whole time.
Some happy waves, smiles all around.
The SpaceX Dragon carrying Wilmore and Williams splashed down off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida Tuesday evening, greeted by a pod of dolphins.
Oh, dolphin cam back again.
Ignition. The two astronauts launched on the first human test flight of the Boeing Starliner in June of last year. But the vessel developed propulsion problems and, for safety reasons, returned to Earth without them, stretching their planned 8-day mission to 9 months. Wilmore and Williams are expected to spend a day or two here at the Johnson Space Center as medical staff evaluate them to make sure they're readjusting to the pull of gravity back here on Earth.
You try not to stand up too much. You're just trying to get the whole head on shoulders thing figured out.
Dr. Tom Marshburn, chief astronaut for Sierra Space, has done 3 tours on the ISS. He says their next challenge will be both physical and mental.
Physically, if you're an athlete, and all of them are athletes, then 3 months probably before they feel like they're back in shape. Mentally, they just need rest. Even just the gravity thing is exhausting.
During their extended mission, Williams and Wilmore conducted more than 150 experiments. While NASA is celebrating their return, no one could be happier than their families, eager to see them on the ground. Karen Hua, CBS News, Houston.
The U.S. Department of Health and the FDA are announcing Operation Stork Speed. Now, the goal is to make sure families have more options for safe and reliable infant formula. The announcement comes as Consumer Reports releases a new investigation into heavy metals such as lead and arsenic in baby formula. Jared Hill has the details.
It's nourishment for millions of babies, but a new investigation from Consumer Reports finds what it calls potentially harmful levels of heavy metals in some infant formulas.
We really want these results to be empowering for parents.
Sana Mujahid with Consumer Reports says their food safety team tested 41 of the most popular powdered infant formulas for heavy metals and other contaminants such as lead, inorganic arsenic, and PFAS, so-called forever chemicals. What were the findings here?
Our findings were mostly good news. There are only 10 that are in our worst choices categories, which had relatively higher levels of lead, inorganic arsenic, and one had BP and acrylamide as well.
There is no source that's going to be zero.
Dr. Mark Corkins is a pediatric gastroenterologist at Lebanon Children's Hospital.
Arsenic is a poison in high doses initially, but we're not talking about that, even close to that. The concern over time is that they're carcinogens. Lead's more of a short-term problem because it affects the ability to make red blood cells and circulation, and it actually has some effects on development.
Consumer Reports has sent their findings to the FDA. In the meantime, scientists say that there are things that parents can do.
Limit your exposure as much as possible.
That includes using filtered water to mix into powdered formula. Parents can also speak with their pediatrician if they want to switch formulas. Mujahid reminds parents to keep the findings in perspective, as these contaminants have also been detected in breast milk, food, and water. She hopes their testing pushes manufacturers to continue keeping safety top of mind, as most products were in their top or good categories.
So some companies are doing something right. And with more testing of incoming raw ingredients and final products, I think all manufacturers could achieve that.
Serving up a healthy start for the next generation. Jared Hill, CBS News, Yonkers, New York.
All right, let's take a live look outside with our tower cam looking out at Aloha Tower and Honolulu Harbor. Guy Hagi is going to have your full forecast in 2 minutes.
Aloha on this Wednesday. The big storm system that swamped us a few days ago is now weakening, but its remnants are still in our neighborhood. That's why it's very, very cloudy out there. It's going to be cloudy through tomorrow. Rain-wise, we just have a few windward and Mauka showers. The cloud band from that old storm is only now mid to high level clouds, so this does not bring in any rain. However, lower level clouds are bringing in some windward and Mauka showers this morning. Not a lot of rain, as you can see. Most leeward sides will remain mostly dry. And the winds are stepping up today. They'll be running at breezy levels for the next few days. Lighter winds are due in when a cold front comes in sometime early next week. So for today, it's going to be cloudy, it's going to be breezy, and it's going to be fairly dry aside from a few morning and overnight showers. Sunrise coming up at 6:35. The days are slowly getting longer as we approach the start of spring. And as far as the surf, it's rising again. We got another wintertime swell, more northerly. That's why big difference between the north and the west shores. And the limited spots are going to be good today. A bigger northwest swell is due in early next week. That swell could be near warning levels. So the winter surf season far from over. So we've got the cloudy skies, very little rain for the next couple of days, and breezy winds as well. We'll see more clear skies, more sunshine Friday and Saturday with those breezy winds continuing. A cold front is due in early next week. It's going to start to move into Kauai and Oahu on Sunday. It's going to be more widespread on Monday with cloudy skies, more scattered showers. At this point, it does not look to be a big major rainmaker, but again, more widespread showers on Monday. It could linger even into Tuesday. And also, with those winds lightening up starting on Sunday, fog and haze might be moving in as well.
Thank you, Guy, and thank you to you viewers at home for bearing with us. We had to go a little old school today, but it's all good. We're going to have your good news now coming up in 2 minutes. It's time for some good news now. An orphaned monk seal who was found struggling off the coast of Greece is now back in the wild. Look at this guy. A rescue center in the area saved him and named him Renos Pantelis after the man who found him. Now, after a couple of months of care, he was tagged and released back into the wild. The young seal sniffed the air timidly and waited. Slowly, he inched his way out of the crate, then belly hauled his way down to the beach and splashed into the sea. Well, the Vatican is using fun and fusing it with some faith to get a new video game that's letting children explore the famous St. Peter's Basilica. Check this out. The 3D Minecraft-inspired adventure lets kids explore a virtual replica of the church created from 400,000 high-resolution images. The game called Peter is Here also uses AI to help spot and check areas of the basilica that need repairs.
As the character, you can walk through the hallways and explore the entire building. You can interact with the art pieces, the statues, and the mosaics.
Church leaders say the goal is to get younger generations excited about the Vatican's rich history through fun and interactive gaming. Thank you so much for watching This Is Now. More news first at 4 right here on KCHNL.